Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the RENNSPORT Nordschleife League here today. And we have a very exciting race here today with a very exciting car, because we will be driving the GT3X, the Porsche 911 GT3R RENNSPORT to be more specific. And we have a bit of smaller grid maybe today, but this doesn't mean it won't be really exciting. We are heading into qualifying in just a few minutes. But yeah, new season, everything is laid out for a very exciting Season 3 here. Bit shorter than the last one, of course. 2 weeks ago we ended Season 2 with the 2.4 hours here at the Nordschleife. But today we are back for 60-minute sprint, and qualifying has just started. Alongside me here today, because I'm of course not alone, is Tim Ireland. Welcome, Tim.
Hello, Lino. Hello, everyone on Twitch. How are you guys doing today? Yeah, a little bit different from the last time we were here at the Nordschleife, because it's definitely not 2.4 hours, and these aren't GT3 cars, as you pointed out. It's the Porsche 911 RENNSPORT edition, which is a purely very rich person's track car. But you can drive it in RENNSPORT and without being a very rich person. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun car. It's one of my favorite cars to drive. I always forget how good it is until you have a go.
Actually good that you mentioned, because until next Wednesday you can try out this car for free, and tomorrow we will have another event with it on the Nürburgring GP layout. We will talk about that later. So if you want to try it out, currently is your chance for free until next Wednesday. And of course there will be a new livery coming for it as well, the Placey livery. It's not active yet with the Twitch drops, but it will be very soon with the EWC, which will be starting very soon, well, next week. And then this car gets a fourth very unique livery. But for today we have all three liveries represented. Currently we see Dominic Ladler in the diamond livery Porsche, and with the green headlights as well.
Yeah, I believe EWC starts on Tuesday. So yeah, the broadcasts for that is when the drops will be kicking in, as far as I'm aware. But until then, you can listen to me and Lena drone on about the RENNSPORT car, because we both like it. And it's many, well, 3 liveries.
And it has very colorful headlights.
And it does have very colourful headlights, that is true.
Well, most people in the green have fittingly choosing the green colored headlights, which is, I guess, convenient. But yeah, I mean, it is hard to describe what the GT3X drives like, so that's why I would say try it for yourself as long as you can, since it is for free. It drives super distinctively from the base it's built on, from the GT3R, while at the same time being still a Porsche. So you notice it's a Porsche, but it just has more grip, it has more power, it is more brutal in any way. I think the closest comparison you can draw to it is probably a Super GT car.
Yeah, that's probably a fairly good example, to be honest. It's a bit more than a GT3, a bit less than a GT2, somewhere in between. But it's a really fun car to drive, with still having the aids to catch you if you're less great, less than brilliant, like me.
Well, with this being the start of Season 3, the 6th season at the Nordschleife actually, because we had 3 seasons of the Founders League back then. We also have some minor changes to the whole system behind it. So except for this event, the next events will be open setup. So we will see some variation in how even equal cars drive. We have the M2s and GT4s coming up later in the season. So even with that, people might be very different in terms of how they set their cars up. The rest is pretty much the same. The point system is as we are used to. So the more people race, the more points you get for winning a race. And there are also still the points for qualifying. So what you see right now, the hot laps, currently driven by Cesco Montoya, they give direct points. Maximilian Dehn, of course, always a favorite to take pole position and the 3 points with it. Going for the purple headlights, which really match the diamond livery.
Yeah, a few people experimenting with some of the different headlight colours. It's not fully dark here at the Nordschleife, so you get to just do it as a cosmetic thing. Have a little bit of individuality. We've got some greens, we've got some purples, we've got a red. Nobody opting for the full disco headlights of just keep hammering the colour change button.
You can give Enrico ideas, he might be the first to try that. I mean, if he listens to this broadcast after the race, of course he's driving, then maybe we'll see him doing it tomorrow, because tomorrow we will have a RENNSPORT community event. If you're not used to what community events and the leagues are, today we run the Nordschleife League here, a league fully around the Nordschleife with different car classes. Next week on Saturday we will have the community league, which is GT3s. We are going to Spa for that one. And tomorrow, also every second week, we will have the community events, which are usually something a bit different. And with different, I mean multi-class racing, for instance, which will be the GT3X and GT4 cars sharing the Nürburgring GP track. And I think that can be very interesting between the two classes.
Yeah, the closing speed between the GT3X and the GT4 will be a little bit quicker than they're maybe used to from regular kind of GT racing multi-classes. So they'll take a bit of adjusting to. But yeah, it should be a fun event. And Nürburgring GP it's got overtaking places for sure, but it's not the easiest maybe track to overtake on, so being able to handle traffic is gonna be a key issue, I think.
Well, if you go by the ERC race yesterday, which is a community run league, if you want to have more info on that, check out the Discord definitely. But you can move up and down the field very quickly if you want to, but it has tricks up its sleeve. It's on one hand a typical Grand Prix track, on the other hand can be very narrow at times, especially with two different classes sharing the same bit of asphalt. Enrico Bräuninger having a big moment, because he lost most part of its front end.
Yeah, he had a very weak twitch. I can't say where, don't ask me. But and then ended up stuffing it into a barrier and causing a lot of damage to the front end of his car there. So he's not going to be feeling particularly great about his qualifying lap. But it's a 60-minute race on the Nordschleife with damage, so it's not just going to be a procession based on your qualifying positions, shall we say.
And it's something we have seen time and time again in the last 2 seasons. Every reason to not finish the race, I think. I mean, I wouldn't say every reason, because there's still people who will prove us wrong, as Maximilian Dehn takes provisional pole with the 749. Dominik Lala in second. I think these two will also stay in their positions. Enrico Bräuninger coming home in 6th. Third goes to Kimi Hapala with the very distinct red headlights. And those are actually the first points of the season already dished out. But yeah, I mean, racing with these cars is going to be different to your normal GT3 race, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. touch of the handling is just a little bit different. It's a bit... it's predictable, but it's got a bit more grunt than a GT3 car, so you've got to be a little bit wary of pushing it too hard. As you can see from Max Dean's time, that's about 10 seconds faster than his times on GT3 cars. So it's a little bit quicker over the Nordschleife. Not massively, but it's just enough to throw off your muscle memory from any one of these guys who is a Porsche 911 GT3 driver, which isn't all of them, that's for sure.
Indeed. I mean, I think one major difference to, for example, the 911 GTE or the RSR is that, of course, the RSR was mid-engine, while the RENNSPORT still is rear-engine. Takes very different skill sets for that. So one might not be particularly like the other. But coming into the race now, we have 10 911 RENNSPORTs lined up. I already can see very different headlight colors and a lot of flashing. So I'm very much looking forward to that. We will resume with footage for you guys, of course, in just a moment's time. When we get to this rolling start, 60 kph to the line, tiny bit slower than in R1. But there we go. We see some green, we see some blue, we see some pink in the form of Maximilian Dehn.
I think Kimi Harpler has stuck to red. Just making it a little bit easier for us to tell them apart than it would have otherwise been.
Indeed, that's a very good point as well. And it will be Maximilian Dehn leading them to the green lights. The safety car pulls into the pits. And we go racing in the green hell for the third season of the RENNSPORT Nordschleife League. It has been a very good getaway for Maximilian Dehn, but Dominik Lalle is immediately under pressure, both sides. Kimi Harpler on the left, Julian Chico on the right, brakes very late, shuts the door on Julian Chico, and it's been a very good defensive move there by Dominik Lalle. It seems to be going very cleanly. Enrico Bräuniger behind. And now Kimi Harpler has to defend from Julian Chico. He accidentally switched headlight color, I think, there. But everybody seems to have gone through very cleanly. Maximilian Dehn still leading this race. Getting single file very quickly, but this car does have a lot of draft, so especially down the Lüttinger Höhe, being behind another car may be a bit more crucial than with the normal GT3s.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it handles the dirty air on the dotting on the just generally the Nürburgring, to be honest, more than the Dotting. But whether they can stay close together or whether the dirty air starts affecting aero too much.
Going on to the Nordschleife. Again, I think it should be 8 laps here today. But perhaps with a bit more concentration. And I think Maximilian Dehn just put a bit of a drift show there. Coming towards Hatzenbach. Cesco Monera in 8th, Piotr Zadaibe and Radoslav Pionkovic a bit behind the field. But we know that they are consistent runners, so they don't necessarily need to... Oh, and Kimi Harpler is put into the wall. Must have hit the tire barrier in Hatzenbach. And that means Julian Chico up to 3rd. And Enrico Bräuniger with Dennis Kurzer just behind for 4th. Running nose to tail, big drift, catched a lot of the curb. You don't really want to do that in a car this stiff. Was able to hold on to it though, but for Kimi Hapler it is a very quick end to a good qualifying performance.
It seems to be carrying on for now, but it's a long way back to the pits from here.
Oh, and Jeffrey Dennington is off in Arenberg. Seems to have hit the wall fairly perpendicular, so maybe able to carry on. Maximilian Dehn up front, 1.6 seconds lead over Dominik Ladler though.
Dennis Kurtzer chasing down Enrico Bräuninger, only 3/10 behind, so he's definitely keeping contact there. He just has to maintain it until he finds himself in a decent position to overtake. Using that big draft to suck him up a bit closer.
Yeah, the gap up front is growing quite quickly, so he can take his time with this move. Doesn't really have any time pressure. Kimi Hapler dropping down behind Jeffrey Dennington as well, of course. I think what is a bit of a wild card with this car, which isn't as known to the drivers, are the tires.
Yes, that is very true.
So, of course, these drivers know how the GT3 tires act. They've been driving lots of races on them, also longer ones. But with the GT3X, it's a very different story. Of course, the tires are similar, but not quite the same. Yeah,
I'm not sure if they're updated to the same ones as the GT3 tires, are they? They might be a slightly older model.
No, they actually are the same age, you could say, to the GT3 ones. But of course, they are a bit different. This car requires a bit of a different tire. So maybe a bit harder, maybe a bit softer. We actually don't quite know for ourselves. But with
it's the GT3X has a bit more power, so the wear with it being the Porsche rear engine, rear wheel drive, of course, does tend to wear the back tyres quite a bit more than the other engine layouts. And this has extra horsepower to boot, so got to look after those rubbers.
It is still a naturally aspirated flat 6, the old formula of 4.2 liters. But yeah, it is the, I think, highest horsepower naturally aspirated flat 6, if I'm not completely mistaken.
When it comes to Porsches, I will always bow to your knowledge. I'm not going to argue.
But it also has a very, very high rep line. Over 9,000. I mean, for me as a Civic owner, that is serious territory.
I thought you were going to say that's normal. That's your normal driving revs.
I wouldn't exclude that. But yeah, that is very high, especially for an engine of 4.2 liters.
As the previous owner of a Japanese crotch rocket, that was pretty much my normal revs.
Dominik Ladler 5 seconds behind Maximilian Dehn as we come up to the Döttinger Höhe for the first time. And of course there will also be a lap, a point for the fastest lap. So usually we've seen that going to Maximilian Dehn. But we've also seen people losing it over trying to get that point.
That's very true.
Further down, Dennis Kurzer 1.5 seconds now behind Enrico Bräuninger. That won't be close enough on the Döttinger Höhe to close in. Kimi Hapler falling a bit further.
Dennis Coates lost a few tenths on the run up to the Dottinger, unfortunately. He was keeping it well within a second, and then I think you just got a bit of a bad exit out of the mini carousel.
But of course, there's still 7 laps to go, and if you think that it means that the order will stay as it is, no, we've seen in the last seasons stuff can change. We've seen cars flipping onto their roofs for pushing too much. We've seen, well, of course not the case here today, but we've seen cars running out of fuel. We have seen even the most consistent drivers just losing it over curbs. So just throw a dart onto any list of reasons you could DNF, and you'll probably find it on the Nordschleife.
The Nordschleife is I mean, as you might expect from being such a long track, it's a unique experience for the drivers in that you've very much got to concentrate on what you're doing, and it's an old school track, very much an old school track. Unlike the GP section of the track that they're on now, which has very nice, forgiving, flat curbs that you just use and nibble away at. It's fine. The Nordschleife, they're big steps, and you cannot use those curbs. And it only takes someone to forget for a minute. And like you were saying earlier, with a car as stiff as this, if you hit a curb, you know about it, and damage is on. So you don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 people come in for the damage repairs, Kimi Harpler and Jeffrey Dennington, and I imagine Piotr Zadaibe as well. Nordschleife claiming 3 victims in 1 lap. But yeah, it just adds to the challenge, and I mean, we know how good these drivers, especially Kimi Harpler, are. It really is just a challenge in its own. This is the current defending champion, Dominic Ladler. Won the first 2 seasons, although the last one went a bit closer in the end. Juan Den Hood putting up a solid fight. And there have been some questions about the Moser livery as well in chat. And if you want to get the livery, the place livery for this car, as well as 10 other liveries, you have to tune in from next Tuesday until the end of EWC. Watch, I think for the Moser one, it's 30 minutes for the Moser and Place Heat ones. And then you can just link your Twitch account to your RENNSPORT account. We have a explainer on the website as well as in the Discord. So if you have any questions regarding that, feel free to join and just ask in the chat. There are always some friendly people who will help you out. So yeah, get collecting, I guess. But for today, what we are collecting is points for the championship standings, and they're currently led by Maximilian Dehn.
If you've previously linked your account to Twitch, I don't think you have to do it again.
Indeed.
Just to expand a little bit.
Can actually fairly simply check that if you go to your Twitch account settings and then to connections, you will see what is connected, and you should be able to find RENNSPORT in that list. If it's in there, then you are good to go. You can claim the liveries as soon as you have the watch time acquired. And it seems like Chesco Monuera, the UI is a bit wrong here, that is the car of Chesco, has retired from the race, but the other 3 cars are out on track again. Well, what does Love P1 meanwhile? He's been doing what we've said before. He's just silently driving his race, keeping it out of trouble. And is currently running in 6th as well. Into the carousel. It's also a very interesting part in this car. Of course you have more downforce and all that stuff, but those old concrete plates, keeping the car stable through there requires a bit more fine-tuning with how you work with your wheel, your pedals. And let's go on board, if I could find the correct camera, with Maximilian Dehn. Listen to that flat 6. One thing I will be looking for is definitely the lap times, because Maximilian Dehn looks rapid. And last lap was about 5 seconds quicker than Dominic Lyle. Of course, it was the opening lap. But yeah, 7:54 isn't too bad to start off with. So this one being the first flying lap.
About 5 seconds off his qualifying pace, but he's probably not going to want to be pushing it that hard. Similarly, I don't know how much practice he's had, so he may well get quicker during the race as he gets a bit more used to the car.
Well, Maximilian Dehn isn't the type of driver you would expect to slow down, right?
Not by my standards. I think what the high-level drivers like Max Dehn do, what they consider slowing down, is a matter of tenths. So we'll see. We'll see how easy he decides to take it or not.
Meanwhile, some of you have already found out that you can collect some certain points by watching this stream, and also with the raffles we do from time to time. Those REN points you accumulate by watching the live stream. Every 12 minutes you get 10 points. And with those REN points you will be able during EWC to do some predictions. So for every race we will put out a little voting. You can put your REN points in and win the return or not. Just a nice little feature. You can also duel other people's. If you do !duel, type in another user and then put some points in. Can try to steal some points from others, or maybe give them some. If you want a full list of commands, just type in !commands. But it will be a feature that will be more used in the EWC, but you can get some points here today. Get a little bit of a head start to the major audience. It's a neat little feature, I think. Oh, and Max Dehn losing the rear end there slightly over the curbs. Last lap was a 7:47. Dennis Kurzer, though, is in the pits with major damage, and I think Radoslav Pironkiewicz should be able to take the position. And that means we have a NGSRT driver in the top 5. Not quite
We
able
always
to.
have some NGSRT fans in chat as well, so it's good for them to see some of the drivers up.
And it's nice to see that the teams really start establishing themselves. Of course, one of the newest teams, founded by Honest Bloom and this man, Enrico Bräuninger BST, Bavarian Speedsters team. Well, by the name, I think you can guess what kind of geographical audience it has. But yeah, German community from Bavaria. Already putting up some good results. No FDRT driver here today.
No, we're lacking a bit in FDRT. Like we said earlier on, Rowan from FDRT was pushing Dominic Ladler last season. Dominic Ladler ended up winning, but it makes it quite well known, does Rowan, that he's not the biggest fan of the Nordschleife. So I wonder if he's thought Nordschleife in a really fun car, that'll be terrible. I'm not doing that.
So some BST support in chat. The top 3 though without a team. Also a very solid race so far for Julian Check. We haven't talked about him much. He was kind of in what I would call the Enrico position at the start of the race. Not quite fast enough to go with the front pack, but definitely fast enough to drive away from the cars behind. Of course, helped a bit by the damage Enrico Bräuninger somewhere acquired. Not sure where. But yeah, he's driving it very solidly here in P3.
Jimmy Harpner's made up a couple of places since his pit stop, and I think Dennis Kurtzer might have had a bit of a problem, and Kimi has closed in quite a lot on Dennis Kurtzer. He's overtaken Jeffrey Dennington and is making a pretty swift beeline further up the field. Currently 40 seconds behind, but to put it in perspective, that was 110 seconds about a lap ago.
Yeah, and we don't know in which state Dennis Kurzer's cars after the pit stop. He changed tires, but his wreck seemed to be a bit bigger as well. If there's some lasting damage, we don't know. And Kimi, of course, being one of the faster drivers, with lots of time on his side for this race, still 40 minutes. Might have still a shot at P6 here. Looks very aggressive with those red headlights.
I mean, I don't know if you want to put a competition up for it or not, but I think the purple headlights are the best headlights. Come at me, chat. I don't care. Purple headlights best.
Type exclamation mark duel. Tim Island. Oh no, it's King Jared. I know some people may find it a bit annoying if we keep talking about it, but I think the headlights are just such a neat little detail with this car. And it's overall, it takes away a bit from how special this car truly is. It isn't just a GT3 with more power or more downforce. It's much like the Mercedes GT3X that has been destroying world records or records all around the world, most notably I think at Belfast. It has the RENNSPORT not, but the AMG movable aerodynamic parts. I think both cars have carbon ceramic brake discs instead of the usual ones.
I think so, yeah.
The GT3 regulations wouldn't permit that. Just so much technology you would not see on a regular car. Much like what the 919 Tribute is to the 919 Evo. In that sense.
Just in case you're wondering, yes, in the real car you can change the headlight color.
We didn't just included for nothing. It actually exists, yes.
Have they taken it to the Nürburgring yet? Do you know?
I don't think
I'm
they
sure you
have,
would have mentioned
actually.
it by now.
I mean, maybe that I have missed it. I can't keep up with it, but I don't think they have. Don't think they went on a record killing spree yet in general. Which doesn't mean that doesn't happen at some point. I could imagine with this car on their hands. Bit wide for Waslav Pionkovic in the carousel, does the sensible things and keeps it outside actually. Julian Chico and Dominic... Go ahead.
Sorry, Max Dean has got 6 red sectors and 2 purple sectors this time, so probably not looking to break too many records with this lap. But he's already 2 seconds quicker than his qualifying, so...
And Dominic Ladler and Julian Chico, last lap was only separated by half a second. And I feel like Julian Chico was closing in the last few seconds. I'm not sure what the gap was starting this lap. But Julian Chico seems to be getting up to grips with the car in general. So we will see what this lap brings us. Dominic Lada drove a 55.2. Julian Chico an 801. So he actually lost a lot of time in the opening parts of the lap.
But keep an eye on the gap between them and see what happens in the next lap. It's about 13 seconds right now.
Kimi Hapler meanwhile made up 6 seconds to Dennis Kurzer for P6. Both teammates at RRT. And Enrico Boininger also just 8 seconds behind Julian Chico. Even with that front end damage, it will lose him some downforce. I think the only salvation you can really find with that is that at least the car balance is getting a bit more drivable. If you don't like the oversteer. It doesn't have natural oversteer, so it is very drivable, but especially the likes of Flugplatz or something, maybe a little understeer can actually help you to drive more consistently.
You think he's trying to go for the mechanical setup option? Is that it?
I'm not sure it was done on purpose, but maybe he's just making the best out of it. I wouldn't deny that.
Well, hopefully he didn't give somebody else an aero adjustment when he was adjusting his own then.
Well, he must have hit somebody instead of something, right? I mean, the damage is very much in the middle of the car, and he's not half a lap down, so I don't think he just hit a wall dead on. At least would be hard to imagine that being the case. Maximilian Dehn with 2 green sectors to his names this lap. Dennis Kurzer coming through start-finish. It's 20 seconds to Enrico Boininger because Radoslav Piwonkiewicz is in the pits. He will be released right now, but that means Kimi Hapler should come out not too far behind him. And we'll actually probably overtake him in the pits regardless. maybe to come back to tomorrow's event, to the RENNSPORT community event, which also takes place at 8 PM CEST. On the Grand Prix circuit, of course, it's all a bit narrower compared to other Grand Prix circuits. It is a fairly long track, so you are looking at 1 minute 50s with the GT3X and a bit over 2 minutes with the GT4s. I think lapping will be a huge part of it, won't it? With the GT4 traffic, but the big power advantage with the GT3X.
Yeah, the GT4s, sorry. They're although parts of the Nürburgring GP track are quite wide, I think the line is fairly well defined. It's not like you can take. There aren't many corners where you have a choice of lines. Sorry. So, and the GT4 cars are very kind of dependent on carrying speed through the corners, not as much so as the M2 CSs, but it means that getting offline is going to be a real problem for them, and they definitely won't want to do that. So I think the GT3X drivers are going to have to be pretty smart and make sure they understand the line the GT4s are going to take and use that to their advantage when they're trying to get past as cleanly as possible.
Yeah, and especially with GT4s potentially fighting, that might be a bit difficult to get past, and then patience becomes a big thing. 45 minutes is quite an amount of time to win or lose a race, but you have to be smart about it. You can't just overrun the traffic, because then sooner or later you will find the barriers with or without a GT4. And also for the GT4s.
The GT4s are also pretty close as well, aren't they? So I can't see them getting too spread out. So that makes them an extra long kind of obstacle.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, GT4s I think are the most prone to the train effect, if you want to call it that. So cars just lining up, being able to take the exact same line. They don't have too much downforce. They have a bit, but dirty air isn't too much of a thing in those cars. So you can just follow what the car in front does and create a 3, 4, 5, 6 car train moving in sync. But we will see more of that tomorrow, I guess. Also, it will be interesting what the distribution will be, because of course you can drive this car for free at the moment, but you can also drive the M4 GT4 for free. So don't need to own any of this to join. You only need a safety rating of 1.5. So you need to just drive some races, keep it out of trouble, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, like you said, with both cars being free right now, nobody's got any excuses. Join up. Everybody join.
Maximilian Dehn about to start the second half of the race. 4 laps completed, and it will be 4 more to go. The race, of course, a bit quicker than with regular GT3s.
Past the halfway point. So Max Dean maybe easing off his pace a little bit. He did a 7:49.7 last lap. His best is a 7:47.4. But he's got a plenty big enough gap, so I think he's just backing it off a little bit. He's probably pretty safe in the knowledge that he's got the fastest lap on track right now.
He probably doesn't want to repeat what Ali Zaya did when he was comfortably leading a GT3 race in the AMG last season. To just overdo it into mood curve and flip the car on the head.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if you ask Ali about that, he'll deny it ever happened because he's blocked it out of his memory.
Maybe the case, may not be.
The ever speedy Kimi Harpler, currently 27 seconds behind Dennis Kurtzer, which again seems like a big gap, but he's done pretty well so far, so I'm not going to put it past him. His last lap was an 8:02, which is not the quickest lap, but it's definitely no slouch lap.
Yeah, I mean, that gap stood at 41 seconds before, which is quite a bit bigger than 26.
Yeah, I don't think Dennis Kurtz had a very good lap last time around, looking at his time. Well, he pitted, didn't he, I think?
Yeah, he did indeed.
Yeah, so his last lap was 10 minutes. So not exactly representative. Although it's currently listed as his best lap, which is a bit embarrassing.
Into too many valid laps then. Let's just have a quick look at what this season of RNL will bring us later on the season. Of course, the GT3X will always be a bit less populated. It is a very specific car, to say the least. Next time, in 2 weeks, with the GT4s, we've seen very interesting GT4 races. We've seen, I think, no GT4 race without Ali Zaya drifting either Schwedenkreuz or another corner you usually wouldn't want to drift through. So I'm looking forward to that one.
All the shade on Ali Zahir in this cast.
That's what you get for not turning up. No, but they generally have been very interesting to watch. The car, of course, the BMW M4 GT4 and the Audi R8 GT4 LMS. Easier to drive, and therefore more emphasis on the racing side of things instead of the driving aspect. But then we go back to good old GT3s, and with the 2.4 hour race not too far behind us, which was definitely very interesting. Think it took over a bit too much from the real 24 hours Nürburgring, but it still was a very entertaining race throughout. Of course, then also with Remco on the broadcast, also refreshing. And then we go to the BMW M2, and I don't know if you remember the last M2 race, but I think that will be interesting.
Yeah, I think there was some funny business coming out of the carousel in the last time we had M2s, wasn't there?
Yeah, that as well. Even though I was more thinking about the certain Dutchman making his way through the field.
Well, yeah, it's fair. But yeah, I think the M2's on here. I always like M2 racing. I'm biased. I don't care. But I think M2 always kind of delivers when it comes to the racing.
Yeah, it does. It is a very beginner-friendly car, but at the same time you can extract so much from it. It's, I think, the most versatile car you can have at the moment.
I'm really interested to see what the drivers do with the M2 and the GT3s as far as open setup is concerned. Possibly more than I am with the GT4, if I'm honest. I want to know if anyone's going to go full bravery, zero downforce, dotting a whole rocket ship setup, or if they're going to try and balance it for the rest of the track and lose a little bit on the speed. Then you've got a lot of options with the Nürburgring, so I think what they do with the setups will be probably really fun.
That is a very good point as well, the setup thing. Of course, also for the GT3s will be a big thing. And yeah, with the last race being a 90-minute Nordschleife race, more for a classic event, that will be an interesting end to the season, I think. But with the current way this first race is panning out, thinking about the championship, some of our contenders from the last seasons aren't here. And we have a defending champion here. We have Max Dehn, who wasn't too far off. And probably would have been able to take the title if he attended more races. And of course, the winner of the first 2.4-hour Nordschleife and the first Founders League. So he has some good accolades on this track. I think we nicknamed him Mr. Nordschleife at the start of the Founders League.
Yeah, for sure we did. He's not lacking in accolades as far as the Nordschleife is concerned, that's for sure. He's undoubtedly got pretty good pace, as you can see from today, where he seems to be pretty calm and collected. He's lapping slower than his best lap, but his laps are really consistent.
Yeah, for Dominic Lally, he's also lapping super consistent. He's put his last lap as his best one at 54.68, so a bit slower than Max Dehn, but very, very consistent at that level. And it allows him to just slightly build up the gap to Enrico Bräuniger, because Julian Chicot has lost the car and is crabbing towards the pits now.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a happy, very expensive car, does it?
No, and that is a very painful drive to the pits.
He's got a fairly big gap to Dennis Kurtzer, but if he does have to get back to the pits, which it's kind of looking like he's going to have to, it might be race on with Kimi Harpler by the time he gets round.
Yeah, and especially on the Nordschleife, you lose so much time on the Nürtinger Höhe when you have to just crab through while the rest can go through at nearly 300 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, I spotted another very fast driver we've had at the Nordschleife who always impressed me in the races in Twitch chat. Jaffa Style. I really hope to see that name on track for the GT3 races, because I have been very impressed by the drives he put on last season. Thinking about
I can
the
remember
fight,
seeing him racing.
thinking about the fight against Enrico Bräuniger. Those were very memorable for me. And also another question, the REN points you collect here on this Twitch channel are for the Twitch channel, so they're not the same as the REN bucks used for in-game purchases, so don't get yet confused. They're just a little thing to play with and to make it a bit more interesting in chat. Let's see, Julian Chicot. I think he will come into the pits. I mean, he for sure will come into the pits, but yeah, Dennis Kurtzer should come out in front of him, because I think that will be a bit more of a lengthy repair stop.
He's a bit left hand down at the minute. His steering wheel's at about 8 o'clock, I suppose. Horizontally, not vertically. So yeah, he's lost a good few seconds to Dennis Kurtzer this lap. He might be thinking there's only 18 minutes left and maybe I'll be better nursing it around and hoping not to lose extra time to Dennis. Well, he's got a big gap to Dennis Kurtzer, so he might be able to hold it.
I'm not sure. The thing with this car is, by the way it's crabbing, you can see he broke the toe link on the rear. And if you had that on the front, your rear would be off by quite a margin, as Maximilian Dehn has lost it because Dominic Lawler is leading. Completely missed that somehow in all of this.
Yeah.
It has to be no, I'm confused. The last lap by Maximilian Dehn was 4 seconds slower than Dominic. Did he go into the pits? Potentially.
I'm just gonna go check.
I see that he has more fuel. He went into the pits. I think he's going for an even faster lap. He put on fresh tires.
Either that or he's ripped his tyres up during the pace he's been doing.
What has Moxdane been doing? Or did he damage the car late in the lap? He didn't change tires. He just repaired the car.
He didn't change tyres. It must have been damage repair.
Julian Chicot is out driving. Dennis Kurzer is 5 seconds in front of him. We have 3 more laps to go, including this one. And the gap up front is also coming down at quite a rate. We know that Maximilian Dehn can lap 7 seconds faster than Dominik Ladler. But what happened to Max Dehn?
I can't see anything wrong with this car, if I'm honest.
Maybe he just went really hard across the curb.
Maybe.
The suspension. Yeah. Something you most usually see in Road Atlanta. As Julian Chicot just made his pass way past Dennis Kurzer, who went wide on the Grand Prix circuit, making it a bit easier for Julian Chicot to get past. And Kimi Haplas also just 6 seconds back.
Yeah, he's been catching up pretty quickly, and then obviously now there's Dennis Kurzer and Julian Chicot very close in front of him. So it's a race on as far as Kimi Harper's concerned. Got 15 minutes left. Julian Chicot has been lapping pretty well. Kimi Harper's last lap was a sub 8 minute, so he's not particularly messing about. So I think it's going to really depend how quickly you can get past Dennis Kurzer as to what happens after that.
He's closing in quickly, but getting past is a very different thing.
They're very early on in the lap, aren't they? So he's got a long way to go if he tries to do a Dottinger overtake, that's for sure. But he's still got 3 seconds to catch up yet, so maybe getting a bit ahead of myself.
This is potentially for P4. And Maximilian Dehn is closing in on Dominik Ladler, 12 seconds. Now the gap, so he already made up 3 seconds.
But one thing we do know about Dominik Ladler is he's pretty good at defending.
Yeah,
he knows where to put his car to stop people getting past. So I don't know. He could make a pretty decent show of it.
I think and doubt it will all come down to that final run down the Oettinger, and we have seen some very interesting moves. I'm talking about Julian Chicot and Ali Zahir. Chicot basically letting Ali Zahir by before the Oettinger Höhe to then re-overtake him in the slipstream on the last lap.
It was a smart move, that was for sure.
What's interesting to me also is that Dennis Kurzer, except for that little wobble now, but he seems to be on the pace of Julian Chicot, if not even a tiny bit quicker in certain sectors. And Kimi Harplas closing in. May they both thread Julian Chico 4P4 and 5?
That would be the ideal situation as far as we're concerned.
For us, indeed. For Julian Chico, I don't know.
But yeah, Dennis Kurtzer does seem to... We've talked many times before from the RNL about the kind of accordion effect as you go through different sectors and just what different drivers are more accustomed to. And yeah, so Dennis Kurtzer does... Sometimes he's half a second nearer to Julian Chico, sometimes it drops back to 2 seconds, just as drivers make little mistakes or just know certain sectors better than others.
It seems a bit to me that Julian Chico is quicker in those parts of the track where it really requires a lot of confidence, and we know that Julian Chico is very confident in terms of his driving style. That's why he's sometimes can afford to be very aggressive on the offense, but Dennis Kurtzer seems to be overall just a bit more consistent to me.
But the other thing is that if Kimi Harpler gets past him, he seems to be okay for pace, and maybe Kimi being in front would just be enough to drag him up to Julian Chico.
Yeah, indeed. They can just basically work together. And I mean, if you look at the team tag, maybe that also will play a bit of a role here. Maybe a bit of bump drafting on the Döttinger Höhe we will see in just a moment, because Kimi Harpler is right with Dennis Kurtzer through München, and there we swap positions into Eiskurve. We haven't seen team orders like that too often. Well, not sure if you would call it team order, but...
No, I don't know if Dennis Kurtzer was just saying, I'm not fighting this. Go for it.
To be honest, I wouldn't be sure if I would fight this. I mean, Kimi Harpler is very, very quick.
And he's also not the most patient man.
Potentially as well.
Yeah.
But for Dennis Kurtzer, it's crucial to just stay within about 7/10 coming into the Döttinger. Seems to be just about okay. But for Julian Chico, ice is getting thin.
Yeah, he's going to be a bit worried about being the lone man against the RRT cohorts coming behind him.
1.5 seconds.
Dennis Kurtzer just about in drafting range, but he's not going to get a lot from there.
Maybe I will just ever so slightly close in, but not really able to work together here. So just a bit too much of a gap.
But if Harpler can catch up to Seiko and they start fighting, then Kurtzer will very, very quickly be part of that fight.
And we've also seen that before, people just using the pace of others to get by. Most notably, I think, at Monza and RCL. Even with some blue flag shenanigans there, using blue flags to get past another car that has blue flags in the confusion.
That's just racing life. That's fine.
The gap up front, Dominic Lawler leading by 10.6 seconds. And with nearly just a bit more than 1.5 laps to go, is Maximilian Dehn lapping quick enough to close in?
It's difficult to tell right now because he's obviously going faster than Dominic Ladler because the gap's going down, but we haven't really got a lap time for him because his last lap through he pitted. You can kind of guess it, I suppose, but it's not particularly an accurate way to do things.
Again, 1.5 seconds. Onto the Nordschleife Kimi Hapler, chasing down Julian Chico. With Dennis Kurzer now having a bit of a gap. He lost quite a bit on the Grand Prix circuit. Isn't out of it completely, but it's harder definitely for him.
I think he went a bit heavy on the accelerator in a few corners and did a bit of drifting, but I think he's gonna be part of the Hapler Chico battle once that starts, because it's not going to be a one and done thing, I don't think.
Definitely not between these two drivers, but Kimi Hapler with a much better exit now through Quiddelbacher Höhe. Even more of a jump than with the GT3s, at least it feels like it, but the downforce is keeping you grounded through Flugplatz. And 7/10. Half the gap within, well, 1 or 2 sectors.
And of course, red lights versus purple lights. It didn't go very well for the purple guy in Attack of the Clones.
Spoilers.
Deep Star Wars cut.
Maximilian Dehn is in the 9 seconds, but you can see they are coming near the end of the lap. And he's only got one more. And I'm very curious to find out why Maximilian Dehn had the need to pit.
I wouldn't put it past Max Dehn that he didn't need to pit, he just did it for fun. But I'm still confused as to why his car was in the pits for so long, because he didn't change tyres. He's only put 1 litre of fuel in. So, like you said, he could have had suspension damage, that's for sure. There was no visible damage on his car, but maybe he took a few too many curbs a bit hard.
Oh, Kimi Hapler nearly into the back of Julian Chico, very aggressive into Wehrseifen. But not a piece of paper fitting between these two Porsches.
Unfortunately for Dennis Kurtzer, he's not been living his best life since Kimi Hapler overtook him, and he's now 6 seconds back.
Maybe just lost a bit too much pace there. Julian Chico ran right to the grass there, exiting Bergwerk. Gives Kimi Hapler a bit of a chance now through Kesselchen. A long run up to Mutkurve. This car does have the horsepower to climb up the hill and accelerate throughout. If you ever go to the Nordschleife in real life, you will be shocked at how steep this part of the track really is. But you go from the lowest point of the track in Breitscheid to the highest one in Hohe Acht in a very short amount of time, so I guess it's kind of obvious to why.
Max Dehn just setting a new fastest lap of the race, so he's not messing about trying to catch Dominic Ladler. But Ladler also set his best lap of the race so far. Gap currently 8 seconds. So it might be quite an ask, to be honest. Ladler's last lap was 7:50.8.
Oh, Julian Chico losing it. Julian Chico lost the car over the curb in Hohe Acht. 360'd it. I think only minor damage on the front left.
He did seem to keep it pretty clean, which is impressive. But he's going to be kicking himself over that one.
Dennis Kurzer 2.5 seconds back. If he can find his pace again, maybe he has a chance. But for Kimi Hapler, I mean, he crashed out on lap 1 in this race. I was about to say very early, but it was pretty much the earliest it was possible to. And he's now running in P4 again.
It wasn't even a good place. Not that there is particularly a good one, but he crashed out very early on the lap and lost an awful lot of time and then pitted. So he's done really well to get her back up to 4th place here.
Enrico Bräuninger now in the position that I called the Enrico position before. Quite fittingly. About 50 seconds back from Maximilian Dehn, but also more than 2 minutes ahead of Kimi Harpala. But Max Dehn 6.8 seconds to Dominik Ladler. These two are pushing every single bit out of the car.
Yeah, the last lap round, there was about 4 seconds pace difference between the two of them. So it's a big ask for Max Dehn to close up that gap this lap.
Goes 10th by 10th, but it just is a lot of time to make up. And Dominik Ladler, we know from the 2.4-hour race, he is not pushing if he doesn't have to, because he's keeping his tires in line for when he has to. And I think this is exactly what he does now, and that strategy seems to pay out big time now.
Neither driver is putting in their fastest sectors right now, so I don't think Max Dehn is going to beat his best lap time. But he is closing the gap slowly. We'll find out a bit later on if it was too slowly.
I was like drifting across the exit curb there. Almost like Tony Hawk. Just grinding on the curb.
Sakura kind of keeping the same gap to Kimi Harpala. Unsurprisingly, since Harpala was closing up on Julian Sakura. But Sakura isn't closing in, but he's not really losing a lot of time either.
Well, he just lost a big chunk of time by going too aggressive over the curb at Schumacher. So maybe the cursing is back.
Sorry. I did it.
Radoslav with a big hit into the barrier, and Prototype. These two struggle a bit in this race, but they're not too far apart from each other as well.
Oh, Max Dehn did a purple sector 5 and has managed to munch about a second out of the lead to Dominik Ladler. But they have not got long left. They've just gone around the carousel.
He's riding the curbs very aggressively. I don't think that was intentional. He somehow didn't lose time and is starting to gain again on Dominik Ladler, but 5 seconds and you only have the downhill complex left.
Yeah, there's only 3 sectors left of the lap. So Dominik's got to be feeling fairly confident. If ever there was a cursing sentence, that is probably it.
Of course, by the time they hit the Döttinger, it's pretty much decided, because neither driver is really going to gain or lose time there. And it seems like Dominik Ladler will be the first to be there.
Piotr Zadybal and Radoslav Pionkovic are just up ahead of them on the Döttinger Hohe. There is 8 seconds between them. I wonder if they're going to slow down and let the leaders through. No, I think it's way too far. So they might be pushing themselves into an extra lap. Zadybal seems to be catching Pionkovic ever so slightly. Sorry, Foxcat fans.
They get to do one more lap. It's 4 seconds for the lead. but it will stay at 4 seconds. But what has happened to Maximilian Dehn that he had to do another pit stop? It allowed Dominik Lala to come through, take the lead, and then he really started to push. And push he did.
Dennis Kurtzer has overtaken Julian Chicot.
Indeed, that happened as well. We'll take a look at that in a second, because Dominik Lala just came across the line to win the first race in RNL Season 3. Maximilian Dehn in second, but with the fastest lap, and of course with the 3 points from qualifying, meaning they are only separated by 1 point, and Enrico Breuninger will complete the podium. But what happened to Julian Chicot? His front right car basically missing. It's now in bright side.
Guessing he had a fight with the wall, and like most of the times, the wall wins.
Indeed. There is... He should be safe in 6th, but that car is not a pleasure drive. You can see a lot of tow out on that front right. That is not how you want that part of the car to be set up. But it allowed Dennis Kurtzer to slip up into 5th. Enrico Breuninger just comes across the line. I mean, for Kimi Hapler as well. He's now comfortably in 4th.
Yeah, and it's a really good comeback drive from Kimi. I know it's not the result he would have been expecting, but fantastic race from Kimi Hapler.
Jeffrey Dennington just finishing his race. A bit of damage to the front right, but apart from that, making it through with this car, as we've seen, is enough of a challenge in and of itself. Putting in some numbers, if the results were to stay like this, we have Dominik Lala on 21 points, Maximilian Dehn on 20. Then it's Enrico Breuninger on 13, Kimi Hapler on 12, Dennis Kurtzer on 9. That's your current top 5. Only car not finishing this race, unfortunately, Cesco Monea. So, again, unlucky race for the Spaniard. But he has shown that he had pace today.
Yeah, he seems to always get kind of a bit of a bad end of luck, as does Cesco Monera. He always seems to get something happening fairly early in the race, which it's disheartening to see. And we know he can do fairly decent results when he can get a good start and a clean race out of it.
And apparently, Max Dehn, just confirming in chat, he went in for error repairs after Kimi Hapler told him some misinformation. So, some psychology games on Kimi Hapler side, I think. But he will come home to finish 4th, with Dennis Kurtzer following him in 5th. I didn't expect the end to go like this, to be honest. It was very...
No, not at all. And Foxcat fans out there, Piotr Zadybal is...
So we actually still also have a fight? Yeah, we still actually have a fight on our hands here. Near the end of the race. Both cars a bit battered, but still carrying on, and I think Piotr Zadybal just with the better exit. Wonder what Slipstream does with these cars. Still. But yeah, Predator the Diver, I don't think he will go for anything you might call stupid. He's usually a very cold-headed driver. I doubt he will just wait for the Döttinger Höhe. Julian Chicot, meanwhile, he's slowly making his way to the finish line. I think he will be very pleased to end this race. Had a very strong start, a very strong run. In the end, again, it just fell apart for him. It's a bit of a hit or miss thing with him sometimes.
Yeah, it just seemed to snowball after that little fun 360 he did.
Oh, and Piotr Zadal loses it through Hedwigshöhe. Gets it turned around, but I think that should give Radoslav Pironkovic just the time he needs to come home in 7th.
Yeah, he's got about a 6-second gap now, so I retract what I said, Foxcat fans. He's doing okay.
Well, let's have a look at the current standings before we call it a day for tonight. And of course tomorrow we will be back with racing action. We have talked about it a bit in the stream. GT3X and GT4s on Nürburgring Grand Prix. Very different, I think, to today's race, especially with the traffic in there. And if you want to join, all you need is a safety rating of 1.5 to be part of it. But here's your current standings. Dominik Ladler leading by 1 point over Maximilian Dehn. That would have been weird.
That would have been pretty weird. But yeah, 1 point in at the top because Max Dean obviously got the bonus for qualifying and fastest lap of the race. With a fairly impressive, it's got to be said, 7:47.291. His last lap was a 0.135, so very marginally quicker, but he must have had an off track somewhere.
Yep, indeed.
The drivers remaining are currently coming down Dottinger Höhe with Piotr Zdybal still 5.3 seconds behind Radoslav Pironkovic. So it looks pretty safe for a Foxcat number position 7.
There we have them coming onto the Grand Prix circuit and also ending their day. But what a race it has been. Really coming to life in the closing stages there.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'd say...
Proving that you could never rule it out at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we said it before. Actually, one thing that proved itself fairly quickly was the fact that we had a new reason to not win a race. So... yeah, yet another one discovered. But I'd say for tonight, that was it. Tomorrow we will be back with the RCE. Next week, Saturday, we will have the Season 6 Episode 5 of RCL. And the full week from Tuesday to Friday, you can watch R1 in EWC. Get some nice liveries for the GT3X as well as the GT3s. And yeah, any final words from you?
No, just look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. If any of you watching fancy taking part, everything's free right now, so you've got zero excuses for not racing tomorrow. Go race.
Indeed, with that said, enjoy the rest of your evening. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.